Hey, Revos here. We're going over, got some information here about the changes, big changes on the horizon at Marvel after phase 4 ending, and we're going into phase 5. They're now going to be introducing some content here. So we're going to be going over these changes as it's being brought up, react to it as it's going through, and I'll give you my take on what I think this would be about and how I feel about it. Let's dive in.
Well, it looks like Marvel Studios could be making some pretty big changes to the MCU, and of course this could be either really good or, if executed improperly, could be bad. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Warren Thompson, and the changes that Marvel Studios are making and have actually currently made already have fans kind of concerned, but don't worry, I think that this is actually a really good thing. Now, what is Marvel Studios going to be changing? Well, one, they're going to be changing the frequency that they actually release new projects to the MCU. And no, I'm not just talking about the series on Disney+. What we're talking about today are specials. Marvel Studios has begun releasing what they call specials in the MCU. And here's the thing, sometimes specials could be extremely important, but sometimes they might not mean anything at all. However, all specials will be canon to
I'm
the
kind of
MCU,
okay with
this
that.
is something that Marvel Studios is doing a lot more in the future. Now, what are specials? Well, they can be many different things, and I think they're an excellent idea, but I can understand why fans are worried, and of course, we'll talk about that in this video. Now, specials can be anything from the I Am Groot series that we got on Disney Plus to Werewolf by Night, which is about to come out in a few days. It can be the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and it could also be some type of a short film introducing a new character to the MCU. Now, all of these, which I mentioned, are and will be canon to the MCU, meaning they take
Who really
place
cares about
inside
Agatha,
the
by the way?
MCU storyline. And like I said, each project could have a very big impact on the MCU, from very small to a very large impact. But let's be clear, this is a very big deal, and specials will have a serious impact on the MCU as a whole. And if you're thinking that they don't matter or the stories won't really connect or be anything big, well, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has already came out and confirmed that specials will indeed have a very serious and big impact on the MCU, and once you see Werewolf by Night in a couple of days, you'll realize why. Also, here's another perfect example. James Gunn has already confirmed that the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special is canon and is quite important. It will contain very important info that you will need to know, meaning you'll have to watch the holiday special to know what is happening in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 film. James Gunn specifically said that this is
I hope they
canon.
stay
It
with
takes
that.
place between Thor: Love and Thunder and the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So these are a big deal, and according to a new report from the CosmicCircus.com, Marvel Studios is considering doing a lot more specials. And once you see this, I believe that you'll think that these specials are a really good idea. In theory, of course. Again, it's all how it's executed, which of course we'll talk about.
Sound like
but
they
let's first
realize
talk
the
about how
MCU
this
is failing.
could potentially be bad. It's pretty obvious that a lot of MCU fans have been complaining about the quality of Phase 4. And to be fair, the series on Disney Plus started with Phase 4. And some of them were really good, but some were kind of just okay. Now, some
Most
people
were
can attribute
bad.
this to that's just how it is. You're liking some things, but not liking the other things. However, some people say that Marvel is kind of putting out too much content right now, focusing more on quality and not quantity. Phase 4 has introduced the Disney Plus shows, plus we're getting 3 to 4 movies a year. This is a lot more content.
Exactly, and that's the problem. They're making any and everybody have their own show. The Groot one was really unnecessary. Miss Marvel, that was unnecessary. Bad writing, bad pacing. Even with Moon Knight, bad pacing. She-Hulk has been a laughing stock. That show doesn't know what it even wants to be. So it's not that it's just too much. It's just, well, it is too much, but it's too much and few and far in between is good. So much of it is pretty bad.
Plus, we do hear the news about the visual effects artists being overworked, and I can see that, especially with all of the new content that came in Phase 4. However, I think if Marvel can fix a few things and make one thing very clear, this could be a really good thing. More content with specials in a very different way could very much work. I had the opportunity to watch Werewolf by Night last week, and I can tell you that this special really works. I thought the 1 hour special was fantastic. This is a new way to introduce characters into the MCU that will go on to affect the larger
I do
MCU,
like the lighting and the presentation is different, so I am interested in this.
Origin story, and it wasn't a really long, dragged out story either. They kind of just introduced the character and left. They showed us who the character was, they showed us what he was about, they had a really great story which did wrap up in the special, and then they ended it. Now, they did introduce other characters like Man-Thing and Elsa Bloodstone, and they're going to go on to have a big impact on the MCU too. However, this was still very much a Werewolf by Night story that involved these other great characters. This could open up the MCU to a much bigger, greater side. For example, for the MCU, Werewolf by Night is truly kicking off the supernatural side. We thought it started with Moon Knight, and it kind of did, but once you see this, you'll understand. And this is what Kevin Feige had to say about the special. He said, "We wanted to explore entirely new characters and entirely new sides of the MCU with this unusual, fun, and frightening spin on the supernatural." And Kevin Feige did this through a special, and it worked. So these specials can be a very great thing, and they can be very important and some not matter really at all, but still connect to the MCU and can still be very, very enjoyable if Marvel Studios gets one thing right. Let me explain what that is. The perfect example is the I Am Groot series. It was fun, and it was what we expected. We knew that it wasn't going to be a really big show. We knew it wasn't really going to impact the MCU that much, but it was MCU canon, and it was fun. It was a fun time. That's what we expected. Is it MCU canon? Yeah. Does it really matter to the MCU? No, not really. Well, in Groot's case, kind of, but still,
yeah,
not really to the
Groot
overall
kind of did
MCU.
matter, and I'll
Does
speak about
Werewolf
that in a
by Night
moment.
matter? Yes, it does. It introduces characters to each other and shows clear relationships and implications, but at the same time, it is a standalone feature, which also opens up another really great thing that these specials can be used for. Marvel can make specific movies that they want to make and not really have to focus on the rest of the MCU, but still connect. In an interview with comicbook.com, director Giacchino talked about working with Marvel and making the film. He said, "Cameos never really came up. I mean, we talked a little bit about Blade, but in the end, it was like, you know what? If we're looking at this, and I always describe this as an episode of The Twilight Zone, let's keep it contained. This is one night in the life of Jack and Elsa, and let's see what it's like. And I know everyone searches for connectivity, and we want this person in here and this, and I was like, no, let's just
No, they don't
do
always
this.
have to
It
be
exists in the
connected.
same world as
They
all
don't.
of these other things. It does, but let's not worry about that right now. We'll deal with that maybe someday. I don't know, but for right now, I wanted to tell you the story of one night in the life of these characters, and hopefully something that you could just drop in on, not having seen anything else, and just enjoy it for what it was. I personally really like this idea, and I think a lot of fans will as well. This is something that you don't have to watch anything else in the MCU to enjoy. I've heard a lot of people talking about how people have been skipping Disney Plus shows because they haven't really been enjoying them. However, they're kind of bummed because they do need to know what happened to know what's going to happen in the future of the MCU for all of these team-up films and movies that connect with each other. So this is a standalone film. This is a standalone story. But
That's
at the
cool.
same
That's fine.
time, has very, very big implications for the MCU and introduces new characters that we'll see down the road. This is why I actually really loved Werewolf by Night and why I love
It looks
the
good.
idea
I
of
really
new
hope it's so
specials.
good.
If Marvel can level our expectations and let us know exactly what to expect. If we're going to get a show like I Am Groot that's just going to be
Oh,
silly
God,
and
her
fun,
soon.
they need
Speak
to
of the
let us know,
devil.
which they did before. However, when it comes to She-Hulk, my personal opinion is they marketed it kind of the wrong way. It's not really what they said it was going to be, which is why I think a lot of people actually aren't really enjoying it.
They
This is
lied
why
and it's
I
bad.
think that expectations are a must from Marvel Studios, and marketing needs to be on point for what they're releasing. This has the potential to really expand the MCU and introduce a lot of new characters. They could use this to introduce characters that we really love, like Nova. We know a Nova project is coming. However, it hasn't really been clarified if that's going to be a Disney Plus show or a movie, or now it could even be a special. Now, some people might say, well, I want a full movie to introduce a character, and some people might say, well, I want a full series to introduce a character. But again, if the story is right, these specials can be really great. They could also be used to describe stories that are kind of taking place outside of the main MCU storyline. Again, they connect, but do they really matter? No, but they could be a lot of fun. So overall, I think specials could be a really great thing to the MCU if done properly, and of course, if Marvel sets these expectations. But at the same time, I understand how fans might be pretty skeptical of this. So be sure to let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on.
So, well, you heard the info. Now, my take on this is the specials can work, right? They can work. The problem with Marvel isn't just that they're doing series and they're running all these series. The pacing for these series is bad. It's obvious that for a lot of these series, almost all of them, they didn't have enough content to make it a series, and so it stretches out. Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, where if they would have kept it compact and tight, would have did so much better, and it would have been more enjoyable. But you don't get time to flush out the who the villain is or the story. Another thing is most of Phase 4 has been MCU. A lot of female characters, which is nothing wrong with, but they're not fleshed out, they're not developed. They miraculously get these powers and they instantly know how to fight, they instantly know how to use it. She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, I was looking for. You know, she kind of counts as the phase before. And the last thing is, it's too many characters. The Marvel universe is massive. There's thousands of characters. You don't, each and every character does not need their own show. Like, I'm not sure how Howard the Duck, I don't think that would work. I'm skeptical about Nova, to be honest. Like, I feel like they're trying to expand the universe too fast, and they forgot what brought them to the dance. Each character that they fleshed out outside of Ant-Man and Vision was fleshed out. Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, they all got their own movies, 2 or 3 movies. Hulk story, well, we know that was a right dispute, so they couldn't really use Hulk. Black Widow, she's kind of fleshed out in between their stories. They fleshed her out with that bad movie, but everybody had their story and everybody developed, but now it's like a rush to get these people and incorporate them. You don't have to incorporate them immediately. You could have went the standalone approach, but the making content to make content like Groot, that doesn't need to be. I'm not sure if people forgot, but at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, didn't they show a teenage Groot? A bigger Groot? The clippings was that Groot was going to be moving more towards his adult form and was going to play a pivotal part in Infinity War and Endgame. And because baby Groot got over and it was loved, it seemed like everybody forgot that Groot is supposed to be like a teenager and the problems that was having a teenager Groot. So, and that's what's stagnating them, that's why they're stagnant. Is they're not escalating or evolving their characters. Look at Thor. Thor had character growth, but somehow he's reverted back to, now he's reduced to just comic-y, jokey Thor. I didn't even watch it, but I've heard a lot of it and I've seen some of it. I haven't fully sat down and watched the whole movie. I think they should have from the jump went the standalone approach. I'm looking for Werewolf by Night. I will cover that. I hope this goes well. I grew up a Marvel head more than DC. Spider-Man, Wolverine for me personally. So we'll see. But let me know what you think. You think this standalone having like a special is like maybe a 1 or 2 hour movie, more like a movie, for TV, TV for movie, a movie for TV type show would work, or you think that it's just too late for them to cross that bridge? Let me know in the comments below, and again, it's Revos here. Goodbye for now.